Are you a pushover or are you too nice? And is this the right approach in life or can it be a successful approach? I want to talk about this here today. So, I had a buddy of mine many, many years ago tell me that there's no such thing as being too nice. And he's a good guy, obviously. He thinks being too nice is a fallacy because none of us can ever be as nice as the next person. If you donate $10,000 to a charity, there's going to be somebody out there who donates 11,000. You see what I'm saying? So what it really is too nice. And I guess it depends on your perspective and your upbringing. But the real purpose of this video is because I want to talk to you guys who may consider yourselves too nice or a pushover. To me, man, you really have to draw the line between being nice and being used. There's nothing wrong with being a kind person. Everybody should try to be a kind person. If you see an old lady drop her groceries and you have time, go help her out with that. If one of your friends is going through a bad time, give them some of your time or some of your money and resources if you feel it's worth it. You know, everybody I think should try to be kind. Well, the problem lies though is, and this is a mistake I've made. I'm talking about this because I've made this mistake a lot actually. The problem lies in that if you go down the rabbit hole of being quote unquote nice or too nice to the wrong people, right? It's to the wrong people. You have to be able to discern people who deserve your kindness and those who deserve for you to ignore them. I don't think you should be mean to bad people, even if they're bad, but you definitely got to stay away from them. I mentioned early on, a few videos ago, drop the toxic people. But what happens is people will pretend not to be toxic, who even are toxic, or they'll hide their toxicity in order to take advantage of you. And this happens not just on the internet, not just in relationships like dating relationships. It happens not only to friends, but it can even happen with family. How many times in your life has a member of your family taken advantage of you? It could even be your own mom and dad. I remember when I was younger, way younger, during my second job or so, my dad, and I love my dad, but this is something I did not like. My dad used to actually sneak into my room and steal my paychecks. Like, I'm not even making this up. And so I caught him once, straight up, he would take the paycheck. So I caught him once and I said, "What are you doing with that?" And he goes, "Well, this is, you're living here for free under my roof and I helped raise you." And it was such a cowardly response because it's like, dude, you helped raise me. That was your choice. You can't come here. I'm a 19-year-old kid. Yeah, I was 19 years old. It was my second job ever. I had never really gotten my own money like that, like like an actual paycheck. And he's gonna come in here and think that he deserves the money because he helped raise me. Now, do I appreciate him raising me and things like that? Of course I did. But instead of asking me to borrow some money, he just went in there and took it as if he was entitled to it. That's the thing, man. And I love my dad, but that was one of the just slimiest things he's ever done to me. Now, luckily, what happened was when I got my next job, I opened up a bank account and did not give him a penny. I did not give him access to anything. And I remember many, many, many years later, he and I had a falling out. And I remember he used to call me and ask me for money, and I would just ignore the call. Now, if you look at that statement, you may be thinking, damn, man, that's your dad. He needs you. I get it, but you have to put yourself in my shoes. My dad, for a very long time, not forever, but for a very long time, would lie to me about money, was very bad with money, owed money to people. I remember one time my dad actually went so far as to claim that he was mugged, which I didn't believe even in the slightest because he had no proof of it. There was no wrinkles, nothing. And he claims that he was mugged for money and had wanted me to let him borrow some. Like, my dad has pulled off some slimy shit. But once again, I still love my dad. He's no longer with us, but it's an example I'm showing you that even your own father and mother, can take advantage of you if you're quote unquote too nice or you don't set boundaries. There's something called boundaries that I had problems setting for many years. I think you have to set healthy boundaries and you have to be careful with whom you associate with and you have to be careful with whom you are kind to, because just because you're showing kindness to that person does not mean they're going to show you kindness back. Or let's say you show them kindness for, I don't know, a few months, consistently, and then you need them for something like a favor or you have to have them stick up for you or something, then they don't do it. Then you're going to feel like you wasted your time and your energy and your love. And I've experienced this myself up until very recently. And I think this might be why I was inspired to come back and do YouTube and come back and do speakdoms on YouTube, that is, because I had to get this message out. I had to get this out because I see a lot of people out there who are quote unquote too nice, and they say nice guys finish last. And nice guys can finish last if they're pushovers, if they let a girl take advantage of them, or a guy or their family member. It can happen, and it could end up costing you a lot of money. I mean, in time, it could cost you thousands of dollars and also cause a lot of mental stress and also waste your time. So you really got to draw the line between being too nice and being a pushover. Ultimately, at the end of the day, no one is going to love you more than you. No one is going to understand you more than you, especially if you do a lot of self-reflection. And ultimately, even if your parents take care of you, or even if they're there for you, and I'm not saying it's every parent, but even if they're good parents, they're not going to be there forever. They're going to eventually pass away. And at that point, it's up to you. And you could get married and stuff like that and have kids. And most of you probably will try that, or you will do that, or you have already done that. But that does not mean that those people, even if they're your kids or your wife or whatever, are going to be there for you when you need them. Because sometimes people end up focusing too much on what they want themselves as opposed to others. And if what you want contradicts with what they want to a certain degree, too much, it's not going to happen. What I'm trying to say is, if you need a favor from somebody, and if that person in their head thinks, well, if I do this favor, it's going to end up being worse for me, or I choose not to waste my time with this favor, like, that's on them. So you have to be as self-sufficient as possible, because you don't know what the other person is thinking. You don't know what they're going to do. There are very few people in this world you can count on, but the one person you can count on 100% is you, because you are you. You are consciousness inside of a body. And because of that, you have the choice to be a pushover or not. Now, once again, I'm not saying that you have to be a dick. I'm not saying you have to treat people badly, because I don't think so. You should be treating people with respect, but also you must demand respect. You must also have an air of self-respect, to where if somebody pushes your buttons, you're immediately the first one to say, hold on, you're crossing my boundaries. That's enough. You understand? And and that's the right way to say it. I mean, when I was younger, I would do it in a much more colorful way, with more colorful language, basically telling somebody to fuck off, for lack of a better term. But there are more understanding ways of saying it. Hey, you're crossing a boundary here. I don't feel comfortable with this, and it is what it is. You have to set boundaries, man. That, to me, is important. Boundaries and self-respect, and you can't let people use you. I have been used and taken advantage of so many times in my life, and it really is one of my biggest regrets, and something that I wish I could take back, because they will use you, man. People will use you. And, this idea of like love and unconditional love and things like that, I'm telling you right now, trust me when I say this. There are so many people that I know in my personal life, and I mean, at this point, it's the majority of my friends who have already been through a divorce. And most of them tell me that when they first got with this person, and even in the first 3 or 4 years, they would have never imagined that they would ever drag them through the legal system and divorce them, because something happened. She either lost attraction, or he wasn't really doing what he needed to do, or she revealed her true colors, or he did something wrong, but it wasn't that bad. There's a million different reasons, but think about what I'm trying to tell you. These dudes would tell me, I never in my wildest dreams ever thought that she would be this trifling, that she would be this much of a bitch. I've heard that many times. Same thing goes with women and men. I've seen a lot of situations where a woman will tell me, I cannot believe that my boyfriend cheated on me. He told me he loved me. He did all this for me, that for me. It's just, and I'm not saying that you should go through life not trusting people, even though I have to learn that lesson myself, because I have a huge, huge problem with trust. I have trust issues. I will admit that. But you really do have to set boundaries. You really have to set boundaries and think about your future, while also trying to help them if it's okay. But is it going to be something that's going to cause you a problem in the future? You understand? That's really what it comes down to. I mean, if you got friends, right? Let's say you got your best friend, and your best friend comes over and goes, hey, man, so I got a pound of coke, like the drug. If you help me sell this, you'll get half, or you'll get 80% or whatever, whatever the deal is. And then you go and you sell that cocaine and you get arrested. That's not his fault, buddy. That's your fault. You could have set a boundary and said, listen, you're my boy. Good luck with that. I'm not disrespecting the way you make money, but I don't feel comfortable doing this because if I get caught, it could ruin my life. And that happens so much, y'all. Peer pressure and letting people get under your skin and letting people inside of you, it's such a common thing. And you have to set that boundary and not be a pushover. And just, again, you don't have to be a dick. You know, this black or white extreme thinking is bad. You just have to be stabilized to say, listen, you're overstepping your boundaries, and I don't agree with it. That's how you do it. That's how you talk to an adult. And if they continue to do it, walk away. Then at that point, you might be able to retaliate if you want to. Do whatever you think is right. But the bottom line of this video is set healthy boundaries. And if you're a pushover and a nice guy, nothing wrong with being nice. People gravitate towards good people. Good people gravitate to good people, excuse me. But people who are pushovers, they end up being the ones that are only liked by those who can take advantage of them. And that to me is not real love. It's not real friendship. It's just very bad. And there's a lot of people out there, who are very narcissistic and very self-centered. And they might not give off that vibe. They might not outwardly tell you, but in time, their true colors will show. So be careful out there. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next one.